Welcome back. As we approach Thanksgiving, individuals should explore a crucial topic, which is the significance of having open and honest conversations about your family's health history during the holiday season. Joining us to talk about the importance of initiating health conversations at your holiday gathering is breast cancer survivor Ashley Dedmon and Senior Vice President of Medical Services at Myriad Genetics, Susan Manley. Thank you both so much for joining me today.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you, Brittany.
So, Susan, Thanksgiving is often a time for families to come together. So, why is it so crucial, for individuals to understand their family's history of cancer?
Well, the holidays are an opportunity to talk about family history and medical health history. Families share DNA or genes, and some of these genes are linked to important inherited medical conditions such as risk for cancer. So knowing that your family history has people who've had breast cancer, colon cancer, endometrial cancer, or ovarian cancer means that your risk for these cancers is increased, and it may qualify you for a genetic test that would tell you even more precisely what your risks for those cancers are.
Ashley, would you mind sharing your breast cancer journey with our viewers?
Absolutely, Brittany. So breast cancer impacted 3 generations of women in my family. My mother was diagnosed with metastatic breast cancer and is unfortunately no longer with us. Shortly after she passed away, my father was diagnosed with prostate cancer. I was 21 at the time when all of this happened, and I was very fearful and afraid about what my future looked like. And so I reached out to my OBGYN and I updated her on my family history because that can change at any time. And I went in and we had genetic counseling and genetic testing. And at the age of 21, I found out that I carried the BRCA2 gene mutation, which means that I'm at a higher risk for breast cancer, ovarian cancer, and have an elevated risk for other cancers. And beginning at that time, I began risk management, which really looked like for about 10 years, I did increase surveillance. And at the age of 31, after those 10 years, I had a preventative double mastectomy to reduce my risk of breast cancer. And so knowing that I have this gene, it really changed my standard of care, and it really provided me a blueprint to be able to proactively reduce my risk.
Yeah, absolutely. And can you tell me when you're in this appointment, right, and you're being told like you have a high risk for these cancers and unfortunately one cancer that affected 3 generations of your family, can you tell me what was your initial reaction? What were some of those highs and lows and those emotional challenges that you faced?
Initially, it was a shock because, again, I just lost my mother and then my father was diagnosed. So I was still grieving. I was still grieving. And then I went from helping my dad care for her to now caring from him. I was graduating from college. And so just so many different feelings and emotions. But I think one thing that was constant was I had this knowledge that I have this mutation. And so I really could not let fear take control anymore. And so I had to move forward with faith and knowing that this information that I have was going to be able to help reduce my risk, and I believe has helped to save my life. And so it definitely wasn't easy, definitely a lot of highs and lows. And I'm still on this journey. As now that I've had a mastectomy, I'm now aggressively monitoring my ovarian health. And I have 2 girls now who are very young that I'm educating them about their family history and my risk and their potential risk. And so the emotions and the physical and the mental impact is one that's ongoing. But I think one thing that has kept me grounded is knowing that I'm making these decisions based on facts.
Yeah, absolutely. And I actually wanted to ask you about that. You're saying that now you're educating your daughters. Were you educated as a child or maybe as a teenager? Was this a conversation that you had as a family, or is this something that you kind of had to navigate on your own?
That's a great question. It was, I think I grew up early on where, what happens in this home stays in this home. And I'm very blessed that my parents, both of them were educators. They were very open and we talked about everything. And so it was really that shift from my parents' generation who really began to have the conversations. But it was not only those conversations, but it was also being able to when I talked with my doctor, being able to go on to the Myriad website and receive more information to really help combine what I've learned from my family with the science and the knowledge to be able to guide me forward. So it was definitely multiple things.
And speaking of Myriad, Susan, can you walk us through the process of genetic hereditary cancer testing?
Sure. So the first step is knowing your medical history and your family's medical history. Take that information to your doctor because this type of genetic test is ordered by a healthcare professional like a physician or a genetic counselor. Having those red flags in your family history of types of cancer like breast cancer, colon cancer, ovarian cancer will qualify you for genetic testing, make you a good candidate for genetic testing, and it's likely that insurance will cover the cost of genetic testing as well. The process is a simple collection of either blood or saliva. And then in our laboratory, the MyRisk test looks for a number of genes that are linked to increased risk for cancer. And then with the test result, you work with your healthcare provider to create a personalized plan. And that can include increased screenings and things to mitigate your risk so that you detect cancer early if it occurs or you prevent it altogether.
Of course. And the Myriad Genetics Cancer Risk Survey found that 20% of women don't talk about health issues in their family. So, once again, this season, how can we encourage people to overcome this barrier and start important conversations about their family's health history and cancer risk?
Education is key. As we're gathering for the holidays, we find out that first point of education from our family members. So as we're talking and we're listening, we know that some conversations may be a little easier than others, and every family dynamic is different. But I think what is really important is the information that you walk away from and being able to share that with your doctors and being able to share that with your children and your grandchildren so that everyone is able to have the information that they need to be able to guide and inform future health decisions.
Absolutely. I think that's the most important part here is you knowing and then you being able to share that information as you mentioned. So Susan, if you can just elaborate a little bit more on the testing, how does it help individuals and clinicians assess their risk? And afterwards, what are the following steps?
So as we've discussed with the genetic test results, that may qualify you for increased screening or different types of screening. So for example, for breast cancer, increasing the frequency of mammograms or being eligible for a different kind of screening, which includes MRI. And so having that elevated cancer risk that is found by a genetic test result can qualify you for different kinds of interventions. And for colon cancer, increasing colonoscopies, and for ovarian cancer, the opportunity to take oral contraceptives to reduce that ovarian cancer risk. There's a variety of different steps that can be taken depending upon the genetic test results and the risks for cancer afterwards. And everybody makes a different decision based on their preferences, their experience with cancer, and their own health journeys.
That's amazing. As we wrap up, Susan, can you tell us where we can get more information?
Sure. At our website at myriad.com/knowyourhistory, we have some tools on there that talk about the importance of family health history and a family tree that can be used to gather that information.
This was a very educational, informative topic. So I want to thank you both for joining us today.
Thank you,
Brittany.
For more information, you can visit the website at myriad.com/knowyourhistory. Don't go anywhere. We'll be back with more open right after this.